Kevin Bowen here. Don't forget to listen to The Fan now on 93.5 or 107.5 FM, and check out our latest coverage online at 1075thefan.com.
He was dealing with a calf, and in the little area below his calf, which Andrew kind of referred to as the lower leg, where he was feeling some pain, kind of almost in the ankle area. The injury wasn't getting better, and he hadn't been practicing. So in the course of dealing with this calf injury, it appears that now we've got an ankle issue.
And the soap opera continues. Call it a hot mess, call it a blank show, shit show, whatever you want to call it. The saga circus surrounding Andrew Luck's lingering calf, lower leg, ankle, bone. Am I forgetting body parts, Joey Monero?
Well, I heard that he has an extra bone in his foot.
Yeah, that boy. I was looking up some terms, man, that I was like, God, is this a spelling bee term? I have no idea what even. If they make me spell this in an article, I'm screwed.
Back in human anatomy class at Cathedral.
Exactly. That's the update right there, Chris Ballard. His emergency conference call on Tuesday night that has brought us back into the studio, recording Thursday morning in between the two Browns joint practices. We wanted to give you a very Andrew Luck-centric Kevin's Corner. That will be today. When we get into Twitter questions, we will steer away from the Andrew Luck chatter and certainly talk more about training camp. And really, the meat of the preseason is here. But, Joey, we just felt like we had to get in here, man. I think with everything Jim Irsay said earlier in the week, then Chris Ballard having to clarify things, or I guess not even clarify what Jim Irsay said. Jim Irsay was potentially right, at least for a small period of time. And now here we are, and we can make fun of the situation because I don't know how you can't make fun of it to a degree. But the most worrisome part to me, Joey, you are 5 months into this. March MRI, when this first happened, and you cannot confidently say that you have the proper diagnosis and the season opener is 18 days away.
I know we're going to get into it more about how Chris Ballard said this isn't 2017, but when Luck wasn't out there that day a couple weeks ago and then he talked to the media, it felt very 2017-ish, and now even more so.
I think, and we can get into that 2017 comment a little bit later, but I almost think he means it more so about what the team looks like.
Yeah.
Yes, a torn labrum is much different than I think a calf strain, because I do think at some point Andrew Luck's going to look in the mirror and say, be a freaking NFL football player. It's 85%, it's 90%, let's go. But I honestly think more of those Ballard comments are, Jacoby Brissett's a little older. We have a defense now that can do something. Our offensive line isn't going to get Jacoby Brissett, seemingly thinking, I'm like, God, he's going to be rushed to the hospital after this game, after getting sacked 10 times by the Jaguars, things like that. But we will hit on all those topics, give you my thoughts on lying, where to lay the blame, is Luck going to play week one, all those things. Joey, let's start with, I guess, the timeline. And basically, this injury, Chris Ballard believes, is a cumulative thing. I think back in the 2016 season, Joey, we do remember a heavily taped left ankle for Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm.
That was the season, I'm pretty sure, like at one point he was wearing like that just gaudy looking elbow pad.
Oh, that was the worst.
It was like...
Hate that Andrew Luck.
It was like the most bandaged up quarterback in the world. And that was some thick tape on that left ankle. And so the Colts feel like over time, this has contributed to the calf strain. And
so it wasn't even just last year then? I mean, it wasn't a particular play or game last season?
No, maybe there was a hit that exasperated it a little bit more, but I don't think there was anything specific, like a smoking gun per se, of like, oh my gosh, the Jarrell Casey hit that we saw back in the 2015 season when Luck first injured that shoulder in week 3. So March MRI, they deem it's a calf strain. During the spring, Luck indirectly thinks that he's going to throw. So this is after the March MRI. Then in May, he gets a shot that they felt like this shot is supposed to indicate whether it's definitely the calf strain. And that's when it didn't indicate that necessarily. So now there are some second thoughts through all of that.
Real quick, Kevin, can we put to bed the idea, or maybe we can't put to bed the idea, but I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, well, this is why you shouldn't ride your bike to the Indy 500. I mean, in all seriousness, is that I get it's a bad look, but is that contributing to this at all? Can we put it to bed?
I mean, I have no idea. You know, I think it's one thing to snowboard when you have a shoulder injury. It's another thing to just casually, I don't know, man. I hate talking about injuries because it's probably the topic that I have the least amount of confidence in talking about in regards to my job. It's vague. The amount of information we get is vague.
Right, especially here.
The amount of information I know about the medical world is obviously vague. And it's just a lot of educated guesses. And yes, there is some information, and I've, talked to a lot of people that know far more about the medical field than I do over the past 72 hours. But I don't know. I can't say that with any sort of confidence. Basically, where I disagree with the Colts is an MRI in March, a shot in May, I think a second MRI in May. Don't act like this is so minor. Like, I mean, come on. I be a little bit more transparent. Like, don't sit there and tell me there's a chance he could still participate in the mini camp when you know full well he's not participating in the mini camp.
Right.
Like, that's the amount of transparency. Am I expecting you to hand over Andrew Luck's medical records? No. But just a little bit. It is, that to me is where I have an issue.
It's not like we're asking about Richard Lewis or whoever here. It's Andrew Luck.
Yeah, this is your $140 million quarterback. So from everything that we were told, the Colts still felt like this was a calf issue all the way up until 2 Sundays ago, July 29th, July 30th, something like that, when Luck practiced the 4th day of camp, his 3rd day on the practice field. He takes part in the 7-on-7. He goes 5-11. And where my kind of antennas first went up is when he spoke to Albert Breer after that practice. And Breer writes now the Monday Morning Quarterback piece for Sports Illustrated, now that Peter King is over at NBC Sports. And in that piece, all Luck mentions is ankle. He doesn't mention calf at all. So Breer and I go back and forth on Twitter. I'm like, not to discredit you at all, but we've been told calf for the last 3 months. Why are you now saying ankle? And he's like, that's what I was told from Luck. 24 hours later, Luck meets with the media, admits that it's more lower leg. I have ankle pain as well. I had a setback, and that's the last time we've talked to Andrew Luck, and that's the last time he's practiced. So I think that's when some things started to develop of, okay, this was misdiagnosed. Is it a bone issue? Like Jim Irsay alluded to in a SiriusXM interview on Monday. That has now been ruled out. And now here we are, Thursday morning, an ankle issue. Posterior, so the front of the ankle, high up on the ankle. Not high ankle sprain, where this pain is high up on the ankle. So that's where we're at. Different sort of rehab. They're going to change things up. Frank Reich, after yesterday's practice, threw out of a bit of a drop-dead date of after the 3rd preseason game, he feels like the Colts will have to make a decision of, all right, are you tailoring a game plan for Jacoby Brissett in week 1 or for Andrew Luck? I hear Frank Reich out on that. That would be great for Frank Reich to publicly state that, a week from Monday, August 26th, when you have 2 practice days, the 26th and 27th. I did a SiriusXM radio interview earlier today with actually Charlie Weiss was one of the hosts.
Wow, that's got to be cool for you.
Yeah, former Notre Dame coach. I like Chuck for his time up there, but he just,
Bad ending, but great start.
Takes a lot to be a college head coach. Great X's and O's. Schematic advantage was what Charlie Weiss always talked about. But anyways, what Weiss was saying was the Monday and Tuesday before the preseason finale, when he was in New England, they would split up practice. And they would say, all right, guys playing against the Bengals on that Thursday night, you go over here. Guys that won't play, you go get ready for week 1 over here. So that's what Frank Reich is alluding to. After that week 3 preseason dress rehearsal game against the Bears, that's a week from Saturday, August 24th. When you come back that Monday, you practice Monday and Tuesday, you more or less start your week 1 prep for the Chargers. So I think that's when he would like to know or have an answer. I doubt he publicly states that to us. And part of me thinks in the back of my mind, if Andrew Luck tells Frank Reich, just give me one more week. Get me to Labor Day. Because Labor Day, I can practice Labor Day, and then Wednesday, then Thursday, then Friday, leading into the Chargers game that Sunday. I can be ready. Is Frank Reich really going to say no? That's...
Yeah, it's just so tough because then, you get to Wednesday that week and...
And that is, we will weigh this so many times over the next couple of weeks, and we're going to talk about week 1 specifically here in a little bit, but I wanted to start off with just a timeline of where we are at, try to get people up to speed. Again, a misdiagnosis has happened twice. Calf strain, bone issue. Now here we are, third time's the charm. We'll see.
So you're saying against the Bengals, that final preseason game on Thursday the 29th, even if Jacoby Brissett plays or if he doesn't play, still don't look into it too much because if he
won't play. I think no matter what, it'll be Chad Kelly and Phillip Walker the whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
Would that be the same if Luck didn't have an issue?
No, because last year Jacoby Brissett started that preseason finale game. That's a good question. I think this is all centered on there's a possibility Andrew Luck might not be ready for the start of the season. You can't throw your potential starter out there behind an offensive line that has Jamarcus Webb.
Yeah. Okay. So, with all that being said, week 1, what are he always talks about the steps. We always hear about the steps. What has to take place for him to be out there against the Chargers?
This persistent pain has to get under control, and then he's got to practice.
Is there a number of practices?
Certainly, obviously, the more the merrier, but I think a full week of practice. I think if he got out there the week before the Chargers game and he didn't have just this throbbing pain during those practices, after those practices, because if he's having pain after a limited 7-on-7 session, what's he doing after an hour and 45-minute 11-on-11, 3-team periods full padded session? So I will come back to this point a lot here in the next few weeks. Andrew Luck has got to play through pain here in 2019. I just can't see. If he's not even 100% now, what is 2 weeks going to do to get him to be 100% for week 1?
Right.
I just think that's where we are at. And my biggest issue with all of this isn't necessarily the fact that we can debate the Colts line or not, and we'll get into that a little bit later. The bigger issue is this, Joey. The Colts just don't know. They don't know
clearly
what is causing this pain for Andrew Luck. How does that not freak people out? How does that not scare people? This is your $140 million quarterback. This is not Cole Headland, your undrafted kicker from North Texas, or insert 90th roster guy, Roger Lewis, like you mentioned earlier.
Whoops, call him Richard.
Good old Dick Lewis rounding out the whiteout group.
Sorry, Roger.
And I'm sure you're exhausting every resource. I'm sure you're seeing specialist after specialist. I'm sure Luck is being like, but still, that is not enough. There is a potential that Andrew Luck, without a surgery, will have ended last season playing. And without an off-season surgery, he might not be ready for the start of the 2019 season. Like, are there NFL players that have ever had that happen to him? Well, like that to me seems so foreign, where you've gone through the whole off-season and it's lingered and lingered and lingered all the way up to the point. Again, no surgery has been needed. And that could impact his availability for the season opener.
Well, I mean, the shoulder issue, they knew what it was, but they didn't know how to fix it, right? I mean, there was a cloud surrounding that as well.
So the shoulder issue obviously happened in 2015 in September. Luck elected not to do surgery in 2016. They rehabbed that. He played through it in 2016. And then after that 2016 season, they said enough is enough. He needs surgery. Then they have surgery. He misses the entire 2017 season. I think when we talk about Luck in week 1, right now it's the side-to-side movement that is really hindering him. And I think that will be kind of where Luck has to check the box in front of Frank Reich. Show me you can move in the pocket. And I'm not sure if we've brought up these plays on the podcast lately, but, pretty soon I'm going to write an article about Andrew Luck and just how well he scrambles. And I looked at last year's film. I only want to look at last year's film. I wanted to have the most kind of recent body version of Andrew Luck. And I'm going to bring up 3 plays that I think a lot of people will remember from last season. One is probably the most highlight reel play of the year. To Chester Rogers, 2-minute warning, Miami Dolphins, 3rd and 9. Couple Dolphins seemingly have Luck wrapped up or are bumping into Luck. And there's him just kind of bouncing around in the pocket, keeping his eyes downfield, extending the play, broken down coverage, Chester Rogers, basket catch. Huge play in a game the Colts easily could have lost. Fast forward to week 16. You're losing to the New York Giants late in that game. Andrew Luck scrambles, just a full outright scramble, outrunning some defenders for a first down. Last play, week 17, win and get in against the Titans. First series of the game, 3rd down in the red zone. The play's bogging down. Andrew Luck kind of pirouettes his way out of the pocket, spins hard to his left, throws across his body a strike in the back of the end zone to Dontrell Inman. You set the tone for the most important game of the season. Think about those plays, Joey. He has to be fully healthy to make those plays. Mm-hmm. That is Rick Venturi and I were talking at camp a couple weeks ago. What separates quarterbacks in this league? 3rd down, 2-minute, 4th quarter. When shit gets real, what do you look like? Andrew Luck, those 3 plays. 4th quarter against the Giants. 3rd down in the red zone against the Titans in the biggest game of the year. 3rd down, 2-minute warning against the Dolphins. When if you lose that game, who knows? Andrew Luck made those plays. And again, that is a healthy Andrew Luck. If he doesn't have the side-to-side movement, if he cannot extend plays like that, do you want to put him out there? Or do you say Andrew Luck as a statue at 85% is worth putting out there over a potentially healthy Jacoby Brissett? That could be a decision that the Colts have. And I know a lot of people have brought this up with Peyton Manning a decade ago, going through the Bursa sack thing where he missed all the preseason. First 7 games of the year, the Colts go 3-4. The first year at Lucas Oil Stadium, they go 3-4. Manning throws more picks and touchdowns in the first 2 months. And he admitted, this is rust. And if Andrew Luck is going to go play week 1, he is going to enter a regular season without having anywhere near the amount of practice time that he's ever gone into a season. Yes, 2017, he missed the entire camp, and he also missed the entire season. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Last year, Andrew Luck practiced a ton in training camp. He practiced 15 of 18 days in camp, threw at least 15 passes in each of those sessions. He then went into the preseason, played at least 20 snaps in 3 of the 4 preseason games. Now, he will have gone through training camp practicing 3 limited times in 16 sessions, and he's not going to play in the preseason.
So even if he is out there week 1, yeah.
I mean, all I hear from quarterbacks, especially quarterbacks, practice time. Oh, man. Oh, it is invaluable. Oh, my God. Practice time and timing and route. And I do think Andrew Luck believes that.
That's what he wanted for his birthday last year. You remember?
Yes.
Just good, hard, clean practice.
A good Wednesday practice to get me ready for the start of the season. I totally forgot about that quote. So I just think that's an honest conversation you have to have. The effectiveness of Andrew Luck week 1. Everything I heard from Chris Ballard on that conference call, from his tone, it sounded like Jacoby Brissett under center week 1. It did. And so if we would have done this podcast Wednesday morning, I would have said Brissett. The more I've thought about it, I just can't see Luck. An 85 or 90% Luck, I can't see him sitting out. But how about this? Okay? You're Andrew Luck in more ways than one. I'm the head of the Colts training staff.
Yeah.
if you rest till September 25th, we can get you to 100%.
I think without a doubt he's doing that.
Okay.
Because
Colts fans cool with that? Colts fans potentially cool with starting 0-2?
they're not, but I mean, it's not like it's nothing they haven't been used to over the last 6 years. But with Andrew Luck or without Andrew Luck and some of them, but I look at it like on Sunday with Jersey Johnny, I was talking to Matt Taylor, and I said, you notice teams in the NFL, notice this about New England a lot. That's kind of their trial period. They go 2 and 2 a lot.
Dangerous.
They go 2 and 2 a lot. You know, they have the team that goes 4-0 or 3-1 in September. A lot of times ends up being 7-9 or 6-10. I get that it's dangerous, but my point is, just like last year with the Colts, they were 1-5. You don't want to start that way.
The schedule's tougher, man.
I know the schedule's tougher, but my point is that October, November, December, that's when you want Andrew Luck to be 100% Andrew Luck making those plays that you talked about.
That's
so
fair.
I think if that argument is brought up and he's saying week 3, week 4, whatever, 100% for the home opener, I think without a doubt those first 2 weeks it's Jacoby Brissett.
And it's a great debate. You know, I don't disagree with a lot of things that you're saying. I'm just trying to throw a little devil's advocate.
Yeah, no, for sure.
With you with some of those comments. And there's a very real possibility that type of conversation will have to happen.
And
with
it
Luck.
sucks too, KB, because we were out there talking to Andrew Luck, and you asked the question, I think. You think that you'll be ready for week 1? You're going to be all right? Absolutely, he says. And now all of a sudden it's turned into this.
See, I think he says absolutely because I've played through worse pain. I think that's why he says that. Because confidently, and this is why this situation, again, is so laughable. You are treating a different injury right now. You're treating your third different ailment on your $140 million quarterback's left leg. So Andrew Luck, medically, he can't say confidently that he'll be ready week 1. What if he tests out this ankle and whatever, it shatters or whatever the hell happens? Well, then he's obviously not playing week 1. Like, Luck says that from the standpoint of, I'm a competitor and I'm wired. I'm going to be out there week 1. But from a medical sense, the Colts think they have it figured out. It's August 15th.
Right.
And they think they have it figured out. One last thing before we move on. I asked Frank Reich this yesterday because when Andrew Luck, what flavor Jolly Rancher is that?
Raspberry.
Oh, gosh. Is that good?
It's on breakfast.
Is raspberry good?
Very good.
You know me. Team cherry.
Same.
I asked Frank Reich this yesterday. When Andrew Luck went through the labrum issues, he talked about how his lower body was maybe the bigger emphasis in rebuilding his throwing motion. He spoke with Drew Brees about it. Drew Brees is like, dude, I know you're 6'4" and 230, and I'm 6 foot and 210 or whatever Drew Brees is listed at. You've got to learn how to throw from the ground up. Like you aren't going to have this just raw athletic ability, throughout your career. It's like a basketball shooter. You can't. It's
pitcher
not just
in baseball. Yep.
Right. It's not just all upper body. Hand, wrist, whatever. You've got to get your legs into it. Pitcher in baseball is a great way to use it, and that's where Tom House comes into play. This baseball guy, great quarterback guru. You have got to have a strong lower body, strong base. So I asked, Frank, calf, bone, ankle, is any of this hindering or altering Andrew Luck's throwing style? And he was pretty adamant, no. They would definitely not make any sacrifices there. And I think that's a big reason why Tom House is coming in. Because if Luck is feeling this pain, House wants to look at him. The Colts and Luck want him to look at number 12 and say, no. We don't want to all of a sudden he can't push off that left leg because it's a little bit hurt, and now you're putting more stress on the shoulder or you're putting more stress on some other body part. So I just think that is another element of this rehab we probably haven't talked enough about.
All right, we hit on a little bit about just kind of the circus that has become of this, and it feels like 2017. So, what are your thoughts just about on how the Colts have handled this altogether?
It is a bit of a hot mess. I think when you went from the Irsay to Ballard thing right away, I first was like, what a dumpster fire. This is, and I've probably come off that a little bit. It's still not a good look at all. and that's why I go back to what I said earlier. I mean, I'd like to just see a tad bit more transparency in the spring. Don't act like, just because it's a spring, don't act like everything's fine and well. Oh, who cares? We're in shorts and helmets, blah, blah, blah. Well, now you're in full pads and the Cleveland Browns are here and your quarterback is, not doing anything. So,
do Ballard and Irsay, is there not... You would think, and I guess this is to the greater point, Kevin, you would think that there would be a discussion to be on the same page.
Well, see, this is where I'm not sure if the Colts are lying, Joey. When Irsay does that interview, and thank the Lord Jim Irsay did that interview. If Jim Irsay does not say what he said on Monday afternoon on Sirius XM radio, we don't get this transparency.
Yep.
And kind of taking fans behind the curtain a little bit. Jim Irsay does that interview with one of my boss here at MS Communications, Jeff Rickard, who was hosting with Bill Polian on that Monday afternoon show. And so I said to Jeff, I go, can I get that audio? You just know Jim Irsay, when Jim Irsay talks, you never know what he's going to say. And trust me, I listened to all 26 minutes of that interview. It was really freaking boring outside of 30 seconds. It's basically him and Bill Polian just retelling stories. Yeah. So maybe not boring, but at least not pertinent for what I was looking for at the time. But when I heard that 30-second clip and I started to transcribe it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to set off an absolute wildfire. And it did. And so at the time, that's what the Colts thought. They thought bone issue. And then by Tuesday night at 7:45, so what? 28 hours from Irsay doing the interview to Ballard doing the emergency conference call. Now they've ruled out the os trigonome or whatever you call it, the little part of Andrew Luck's bone that he has in his body. And now we've moved on to this ankle issue. So I don't think it is Ballard and Irsay not on the same page there. I just think that Irsay's always going to tell you what he exactly hears from the trainers. And I don't think anyone else in the organization is willing to be that up front with those things, because you got to put all four of these guys just in different areas. Irsay will always talk about what exactly the trainers tell him. And in 2017, I do think he misled leading into that start of the season. But for the most part, when Jim Irsay speaks medically about these guys, like he told us, Jabal Sheard's going to miss some time. Jabal Sheard's missed some time.
Yep.
Frank Reich's not going to give you that. Frank Reich, for the most part, and this is how Frank Reich is wired. He's a backup quarterback in his playing careers. He doesn't really care too much. He cares, but he's just kind of like, hey, I'm going to walk into the medical room at the start of the day. They're going to tell me the guys that are practicing and who are not practicing, and I'm going to go out there and coach them.
Yep.
That's how Frank Reich is wired.
Big football guy.
Ballard is certainly the most transparent and most candid, but he also has the best interests of the player. And Andrew Luck. I mean, Ballard didn't want anything on his team website about Andrew Luck back in 2017. And Andrew Luck, if it was his way, he wouldn't talk about it at all. And that's where I want more out of Andrew Luck.
Yep.
That's where, Andrew, you have a great understanding. I would say a very good understanding of realizing that you're the franchise quarterback. That goes into a lot of things from an appearance, presence standpoint. And you also want to be one of 53. I think he balances that out really well. But I also think you can stand at your locker and talk for 10 minutes every Wednesday and not cut it off after 6 minutes every week.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't here when Peyton Manning was the quarterback, but from the sound of it, Peyton was a 20-minute solid every Wednesday. You talk one day a week. NBA players talk, 2 or 3 times a day to the media. Selfishly, I'd like to see more out of Andrew Luck in that area. Again, I'm not saying you don't have to be the most transparent, just tell me everything right here, but you got to be the face of the franchise when that time comes. I mean, Darius Leonard, you were in the locker room every day last year, Joey. I mean, Darius Leonard, he talked to the media 150 times more.
He almost waited for it. It was almost like he was like, hey, come talk to me.
Right. More than Andrew Luck, in a very humble way. Darius Leonard.
Right. Yeah.
He's not Eric Ebron saying, gather around my locker.
Yeah.
So I would like to see a little bit more out of Luck. And I guess it is more on Luck, I would say, than anything. And again, I would like to see Ballard maybe just realize you want this big emphasis on connecting with your fans. Can you be more transparent? Could they in the spring have said, Andrew had an MRI. We don't think it's anything serious. He could play through some of this pain. If it was a regular season game, he thinks he could gut it out. You can say all those things. But when you say there's an MRI and you say he gets a shot in May, there's more to the story.
Mm-hmm.
So the withholding of it, I don't love. What else? Anything else you got?
No.
Just from a PR standpoint. It would be better. This might sound crazy, but hear me out. It would be better if the Colts were lying about this.
In what way?
Let's say
I thought they already were, kind of.
Well, let's say Andrew Luck has plantar fasciitis, or I don't know, something in the foot, ankle injury. I'm not going to go torn Achilles or anything like that. But let's say he has a serious or a more serious ankle issue, a small fracture that they're dealing with. I would rather them, if I were a Colts fan and I wanted to feel good about how the diagnosis has gone on my franchise quarterback, I would have rather had them lied back in March and May and said, it's a calf strain, when in reality it's a fractured ankle, and that's what's keeping Luck out all this time, than the fact that we sit here 3.5 weeks before the start of the regular season and you don't know the exact issue. Does that make sense? It is a misdiagnosis. I know lie is a very aggressive term, but I'd rather them be right and know what's wrong with Andrew Luck than not even feel like they can confidently say 3 weeks before the start of the season what is wrong with them.
Yeah.
They've misdiagnosed their franchise quarterback 3 times in 5 months. How is that not worrisome?
Because if you're doing it for him, the guy, the hell's going on with everybody else?
The guy. The most important guy inside that building.
I mean,
So I'm not, I don't want to sit here and condone lying, but that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, is this a training staff issue? Is this an Andrew Luck issue? Should they have more aggressively attacked this in the spring when you could have had a lot more recovery time than you have right now? I think those are all very, very fair questions. And before we get into Twitter questions, I feel like I've talked about this too long. I do think you have to take a long, hard look at this medical staff. And I know that I probably can't accurately say that too much just because I don't know behind the scenes. I can provide a little bit more analytical opinion and editorial comments on a football team I see than injuries I see. But when you see the amount of injuries the Colts have had, and Will Carroll, the injury expert who comes in our airwaves a lot, has been very vocal about this. The Colts have routinely ranked bottom 5 in the NFL in injuries year in and year out. If the Colts rank bottom 5 year in and year out in defense, will the defensive coordinator still be here?
I thought Chris Ballard was changing that, though.
Nutritional, changed. Strength conditioning, overhauled, big time. The medical staff, though, is still intact. And I can't confidently say that, like, they are the issue. That's the main culprit. Because I think there's a lot of factors that goes into this. Andrew Luck being part of this as well, and how unique he is in wanting to handle injuries. But I think it's an honest question that you have to have.
All right, we're going to stay light on Twitter questions of Andrew Luck stuff, right?
Last thing on Andrew Luck. Yes, we are going to stay light. Thursday morning, August 15th. 51% chance he starts week 1. The only reason I say that is because I think, again, he looks in the mirror and says, 90%, I got to be ready. Everything I hear from Ballard, what Luck does physically right now, that to me screams Jacoby Brissett.
1,000%.
But Andrew Luck, real, week 1, 85 to 90%. Are you going to play or are you not going to play? This is still the same guy. Yes, he's had some things change from an emotional scar standpoint with this labrum, but in the back of his mind, he is still wired as a competitor. He would say to Mike Sanford, the former Stanford offensive coordinator, when you script plays for me, give me a deep ball in the first 5 plays of the game because I want to take a 7-step drop. I want to take a hit because I want to feel like I'm into the game. That's insane. But that's Andrew Luck. Everything he's gone through with his shoulder has probably altered that a little bit. But week 1, NFL Sunday, 53 guys on a roster going out there to play. Andrew Luck has never just sat out games just to sit out, I don't think he's ever sat out games at 85%. So that's why I would say, again, 51% chance Andrew Luck is out there under center week 1.
See, I think the most telling quote for me, KB, and it's not like that's great chances still, but just even less for me, because when Chris Ballard says, I understand the importance of Andrew Luck. You kidding me? This guy's one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. But we also got another quarterback we like in Jacoby Brissett. That to me right there is just totally in between the lines. We got to go with this guy to start.
And I would say this. Part of that is Chris Ballard from even the opening press conference when and he probably knew a lot more about the Andrew Luck injury situation at that point than publicly we knew. But he said right away that day, it's about more than one player. It's about 53. And he almost just kind of ruled out Andrew Luck. Not ruled him out, but just kind of pushed him to the side of we've got to build a team here. So part of that's Chris Ballard, but I will agree with you, Joey. Every time on that 18-minute conference call or however long it was, when a confidence question was brought up about Andrew Luck playing week 1, he didn't hit on Andrew Luck's physical health for very long at all. It was Jacoby Brissett and the team.
Yep.
So I hear you out, and honestly, I don't think the Colts know. I don't think you can go up to anybody in that Colts organization right now, Andrew Luck included, and they can say with 75% confidence, 80% confidence, this is who's going to start week 1.
Crazy.
The soap, days of our lives.
No joke.
Who needs Hard Knocks? You've got Days of Our Lives airing at Grand Park.
No joke. All right, let's hop into Twitter questions. All right, we'll start with Jason. He says, our DC defensive coordinator says going into games, we're going to play our brand of football. Why don't they play towards obvious weaknesses or strengths and be unpredictable and aggressive like the Pats more?
Yeah, Jason, that was probably my biggest disagreement with the Kansas City playoff loss. Trying to dictate things a little bit more to your opposing offense. And you wonder if Matt Eberflus and just the involvement of the personnel on that side of the ball and feeling more comfortable in year 2 of the system, will that allow the Colts to maybe dictate things a little bit more? But I've talked about in this podcast several times. What New England did to limit Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce is the sort of game planning that I want to see. I want to see what Frank Reich does offensively. More of just a schematic, I'm going to be the more aggressive chess player in this. I think that's a big way to help you have an advantage on a given Sunday and not just relying so stringently on 15-play drives and 80 yards. They're not going to score. They're going to screw up at some point. I don't know. I don't love that. So hopefully we will see a change in that this season for the Colts' sake.
How about this for a Twitter name? This is from Feeling Free. And they sneak in. Okay, we kind of lied. There's going to be a couple luck questions.
I lied. I'm sorry. I know that a lie is a sensitive subject on today's podcast, but I did lie. There were a few very good Andrew Luck questions, just a few. So I wanted to slide them in.
Right. And from Feeling Free, if Luck isn't ready for week 1 and Sheard isn't either, what's the chance that one of them gets put on IR for 8 weeks?
Oh, boy. I also got that question about Parris Campbell earlier today. And I can't see. 8 weeks is a long time. Long time.
Yeah.
For 3 significant guys.
You were looking at me like I was nuts when I said that Luck should miss the first 2 weeks if they say we can get you to 100%.
I know.
8 weeks. Holy cow.
It's early in the morning. Yeah, I can't see it. I think ultimately what you have to look at is this. Okay, let's say Campbell, Sheard, Luck. Worst case scenario. This is, again, worst case. They all miss a month. They miss the month of September. So you have 3 of your 7 inactives figured out for the first month of the season. That's when you have to start thinking, okay, what's the injury situation with Jordan Wilkins? What's the injury situation with guys that are going to get hurt this Saturday and next Saturday? So right now I say no. But let's reevaluate here in a couple weeks. And I would say definitely no on Luck. And part of me actually thinks Sheard could play week 1.
From Jersey Johnny, he wants to know, when is Parris Campbell getting back to practice? How much is this setting him back?
It's definitely set him back. I thought Frank Reich was extremely honest yesterday in saying all this missed time for Parris Campbell, that's going to impact his role week 1. So fantasy owners out there, take note. Colts fans out there, take note. Campbell, earlier this week, Joey, the Colts thought he was going to get back. Tested it out on Sunday, the hamstring. Doesn't cooperate, so let's call it a minor setback. Maybe we see him Monday, maybe. But yeah, I don't. Basically, what Frank Reich said is this. If you're going to go out there and we thought Parris Campbell's going to play 40 snaps and try and get him 8 or 10 touches, that might be now he's only going to play 10 or 15 snaps, get him 3 or 4 touches. Like, I think you're just what this injury has done for Parris Campbell and missing now 12 straight practices, you've taken the expansive role that maybe you thought he could grow into in the NFL, and you've postponed that. I think you're now looking at more of an Ohio State role for Parris Campbell early on, which I still think could be really, really effective.
True.
But this is why Chester Rogers is going to make the team. And you know why else Chester Rogers is going to make the team?
Because he's stable.
Yes, stable, can do punt returns, all those things. But this is something that I don't think we've talked about. Let's say keep 5 wideouts. T.Y. Hilton, Devin Funchess, Parris Campbell, Deion Kane, Chester Rogers. Funchess, Kane, Campbell. I bet Kane is the only one that's caught a ball from Andrew Luck in a full team session and probably less than 5 balls. And that was last year's training camp early on when Kane was starting to move up the depth chart. So that means 3 of your 5 wideouts pretty much have not caught a ball in a serious setting with Andrew Luck. That's why I think Chester Rogers will also make this team.
From Max B, what % chance do you give Reese Fountain of making the roster, and how has he looked since the Bills game?
He's continued to look good. He had a nice Wednesday practice, the joint session. I'm staying away from a little Browns-Colts takeaways just yet. I kind of want to hit on that. We'll come back with a podcast probably Monday or Tuesday and recap the Browns stuff because I do think there's a lot of takeaways from there. But Reese Fountain has continued to do what he did before the Bills game. I still think it's a less than 40% chance Reese Fountain makes this team.
Really?
I do. Again, 5 wideouts, 6 if you have the luxury. I still look at Zach Pascal as that 6th wideout. Now, if they are going to move Zach Pascal off kick return and put Nyheim Hines on there, like we saw yesterday in the joint practice, that bears monitoring. Because now that means the value for Zach Pascal on your team has lessened a little bit, and I think that pushes Reese Fountain up. So, why I say less than 40%, Joey? I don't think it's a guarantee you keep 6 wideouts. I still think Pascal is the leader there. And I think just at the back end of that wideout group, you have to diversify your traits and what you have as those wideouts. Chester Rogers plays slot, does punt return. Zach Pascal, you move all over your formation, can also help you out on special teams. It just doesn't seem like Reese Fountain can do those things for you. But it's still, I mean, before camp started and after week 1, I would have said 10% chance Reese Fountain makes his team. Fountain has done a ton to push himself up close to that 40%, but I still need to see a little bit more.
From Laura, sticking with wide receivers, and the bubble wide receivers prior to cut down day.
I can't see anything of substance. What are you going to Reese Fountain for a 7th round? I mean, I just don't think there's anything that you're going to get. A guy that I think has continued to have a great camp, and I know you've had him on your podcast several times, it is Krishan Hogan. I mean, just outstanding camp. Pencil him in for your practice squad. It's a shame. I just don't think there's room for him on that 53-man roster. But that dude he just catches the football on a daily basis, and I just love his big body.
For sure. Big body, physical, no doubt. From Tyler, with Kane and Fountain making aggressive pushes to make the roster, which wide receivers are the most in danger of being cut?
Did that sound weird, that I love Krishan Hogan's big body?
Nah, it's a football. When dudes are talking football,
right?
Oh, this guy's got great feet. I love his hands, soft hands,
Yeah. This is not Rex Ryan saying, I love his feet.
Well, no, but you get what I'm getting
Yeah.
at. Big body, love his
For sure.
string.
Love his get off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Easy. All right. What was the question?
From, let's see, I skipped down one.
Or was
Tyler
that for
Christian.
Laura?
With
Yeah.
Kane and Fountain making aggressive pushes to make the roster, which wide receivers are most in danger of being cut?
I would say Fountain is still in danger. Marcus Johnson, Krishan Hogan, maybe throw Zach Pascal into that mix. There's a lot of wideouts you're cutting. I think you have like 12 or 13 on the 53-man or on the 90-man roster right now.
Joshua Sutton wants to know, is Rock Yassin the third best corner on the team right now?
Probably. Man, he looked good that indoor practice. I hate that Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry. Odell Beckham didn't practice yesterday, and Jarvis Landry didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Rock Yassin going up against them. But I think Quincy Wilson has had a pretty good camp. But the playmaking of Rock Yassin, some guys play their way out of positions. Rock Yassin has played himself into a position.
Mhm.
Quincy Wilson has done nothing, I think, horribly wrong. Like Jalen Collins has had a bad camp. Quincy Wilson is not, in my eyes. But Rock Yassin's playmaking is just through the roof. So I'm noticing more and more first-team run, first-team looks out of Rock. And I don't know, maybe they feel just a tad more comfortable with Quincy. Like there's kind of a risk-reward with throwing Rock out there. But I think he rounds out your nickel package week one. I do. And Quincy Wilson will still be then maybe you kind of just, whatever the scenario, you want to play more man, you throw Rock out there. You want to play more zone, you feel like Quincy can play versatile spots, you throw Quincy out there.
That play he made against Funchess indoors, though, like you
Stupid
said.
good.
I mean, that's just it looks like a dude who's been here for 5 years who just knows how to make
And
plays.
that camera angle, Joey, doesn't do it great enough justice. I was actually, surprisingly, I had a better view on it than that camera, where I could watch the catch pocket, if you will, of where Funchess first caught it and how Rock ripped it out. Funchess had that ball, and Rock had his hand on it, and as he's ripping at it, that's a play that either you see the cornerback not have the strength to totally rip it out, and a 6'4", 225 wideout breaks that tackle and gets some yards after catch, or you just see that ball hopelessly fall on the ground. It's ripped out, but it goes down as an incompletion, pass defense. Rock rips it out in one fluid motion, and now he's cradling the ball, and he's running the other way for pick six, holding it up. And there's Jonathan Gannon, the cornerbacks coach, sprinting over to Chris Ballard for a bear hug of like, thank you, thank you, thank you.
It was so funny, too, because you saw that coach literally, let's go,
Yeah,
scream in Ballard's face.
Ballard's got to be
Hilarious.
epic stoic because obviously it doesn't look good on Brissett's ball placement. Funchess making the catch,
Right.
whereas the DB coach, he just cares about his guy.
For sure. From JR, were you surprised if Ballard's answer to your question of playing luck, even if he's at 85 to 90%? Doesn't it go against his own philosophy of protecting the players and put the luck at risk of potentially aggravating his injury if he plays not fully healthy?
It's such a good question, JR. Chris Ballard has always been a huge advocate for his players. Always. That is like priority number one for him, which is such a great quality to have as a general manager. But there are guys that probably more so later in the season than not. Like, was Clayton Geathers playing at 100% last year? Was T.Y. Hilton playing at 100% last year? I think what we have to figure out, and a question was asked on that conference call to Chris Ballard, and I'm glad JR brought this up. If Andrew Luck plays, could he re-aggravate this more severely? We always hear that about injuries. He can play with it because there's no damage he can do to it further. He'll have
Right.
surgery in the offseason. That's what the Colts must figure out. So at the end of the day, this is going to be Andrew Luck's call. The Colts are not going to force any amount of pressure on him. And I firmly believe that. Frank Reich, he loves Jacoby Brissett probably as much as he loves his three daughters. And Chris Ballard, he's just not going to force Andrew Luck. No.
This is a little bit of a bright spot here with all this doomsday luck talk. Cab Hill at Pacers fan 334 wants to know, if the Colts make the Super Bowl, where would be the best place to watch the game in Indianapolis?
Oh, wow. Man. Well, the part of me thought this, and then I remember the Super Bowl's played in February. I said just load up Mass Ave, get a big projector screen like they did for the World Cup a few years ago.
They have those heaters.
Yeah, I don't know, man. What if you get like parade weather where it's negative 4 degrees or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, every bar is just going to be swarming packed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, they'd probably open up Lucas Oil, put on the Jumbotron.
Ooh.
Do people like that?
I wouldn't.
I'd hate it.
I like, when it's my team, I like an intimate thing. I like to be able to.
Couldn't agree more. When it's my team, I want to be behind a closed door because if people saw me react how I react to Tiger Woods or Notre Dame football or basketball, they would call the cops.
Yep.
They wouldn't listen to this podcast anymore. They wouldn't let their children say hi to me in public. All those things.
Exactly. So stadium, not a great call. I like the Mass Ave idea. Yeah,
Any like indoor bar that you think was just a great place to
see? I'd say don't go downtown because downtown is going to be the fringe Colts fans who are just like, yeah, I want to take an Instagram picture and
But do you want to be downtown in case they win and now you're climbing light poles on Georgia Street?
That's true, but I'd say find a local, east side, north side, south side watering hole.
Okay.
Plant down there, group of buddies.
Yeah.
Shout
out to Sam Silver Circle in Fountain Square. I used to live right by there. I love that local watering hole.
Great spot for sure. All right, this is from Madison. She says the 2 unofficial depth charts are showing Tyquan Lewis at the starting D tackle over Margus Hunt. Has that been the case in practice so far? Margus had a pretty solid year last year, and I haven't seen Lewis's name very much, so he must be having a quietly great camp.
That has not been the case. That is wrong on the depth chart. Margus Hunt is the starter at nose tackle, and Tyquan Lewis is the backup to Danico Autry in the 3 technique. I think Tyquan Lewis can play on rushing downs. I'm still curious to see what that IndyCar package looks like. But yeah, I would say that the starting defensive line week 1, unless Jabal Sheard gets healthy, will be Al-Qadim Muhammad at one end, Margus Hunt at defensive tackle, your nose tackle, if you will, Danico Autry at the other defensive tackle spot in the 3 technique, and then Justin Houston at right end.
From Dano.
And shameless plug, 1075thefan.com, takeaways from the depth chart. Check out that article, search it, and that will explain to you what I believe and what I don't believe about the Colts first, what I do believe and what I don't believe about their first depth chart.
Cool. From Dano. Hi, Kevin. Which player or players have been the biggest surprise for you, good or bad, in camp?
Good surprises, Jonathan Williams, Krishan Hogan, Reese Fountain, Josh Andrews on the offensive line. He looks to be the top interior backup. Defensively, good surprises. There's a couple random defensive linemen that I feel like have had some good days, but they're just not going to make the team. Definitely EJ Speed. Man, Anthony Walker had a really good day yesterday. That's probably just recency bias in my head. I think Nate Hairston's had a good camp. Kari Willis has had a good camp. Guys that haven't helped themselves for one reason or another, I would say Devin Funchess. Not a ton of drops from Funchess, but I wrote this in a few notebooks. If you were to get out your calculator and do the passer rating for Jacoby Brissett when targeting Devin Funchess in team settings, it wouldn't be very high. Again, multiple reasons contribute to that, and I still think we haven't seen the abundance of drops. We really haven't, which I think might be the best takeaway for Devin Funchess out of camp. But in terms of production, I just haven't seen it. Obviously, Parris Campbell hasn't helped himself with the injury. Evan Boehm on the offensive line. Jackson Barton on the offensive line. Ben Banagoo with his injury. Trying to think of who else. Corner-wise, Jalen Collins, no. Marvell Tell, he's a question mark to make this team. Matthias Farley, I think the Colts have, Matthias Farley was a Ryan Grigson undrafted free agent signing. I think the Colts have maybe started to acquire a little bit higher ceiling guys at the safety position than him.
From Cody Felger, was looking and marveling at Mark Lewinsky's beard and was wondering, can either of you guys grow a beard?
Wow. Yes, but nothing like Mark Lewinsky's beard. You?
Absolutely not. I can't even grow a mustache, let alone a full beard like that.
I feel like a lot of people that have blonde hair can't do that.
It doesn't show up, and it's all just very loose and scraggly. It's not like a manly man's beard.
Yeah, I mean, I can grow it. It gets itchy after about 2 weeks. Basically, I shave every Sunday. So when people are like, oh, you need to shave. I mean, I'm sorry. That's just kind of at 4 or 5 days. I guess I can feel it right now that I touch my neck region. Yeah, Mark Lewinsky's got one hell of a beard.
I think a lot of O-linemen should
Have you ever
that.
seen Lewinsky brush that beard in the locker room?
I don't think so.
Dude, it looks like he's stretching to get ready for a practice. It's one of the more intense things I've seen.
It's a process.
Yeah, it is a process. Yeah. I'm like, damn, good for you.
Yeah, manscaping, you got to take care of yourself.
Mark Lewinsky, one of just 4 Colts that have starters that have been out there every day at camp. I need to look this up again. Marlon Mack, Mark Lewinsky, Malik Hooker, and I think Quincy Wilson. I think those are your only 4, which is just crazy to think the injury issues to Wilson and Mack and
yeah.
Hooker in past years. And then you think an offensive lineman will take 1 day off. Every other starter's been out there or has been out for at least 2 practices. Not Glow.
Big Q was out yesterday.
Yeah, back-to-back days. Ankle. Minor ankle issue. Will not play Saturday in the preseason game.
Nice. From Joseph, why does the O-line seem to be struggling so far this year?
Like I said, the guys have been in and out of the lineup. Great segue, Joey.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Some guys have been in and out, but I was disappointed for sure on Thursday night to see Braden Smith and Quentin Nelson get beat like they were. And, I know Rick Venturi gets pretty fired up about this. I don't know if he's totally on board with how they handled the Gouge situation. The Colts were a pretty good offensive line last year. So, maybe when you don't have that guy kicking you in the ass every day, does that impact things? And it's what I love about the NFL. You have to prove yourself every single year. Every single year. And, yeah, you have to do that in other sports as well, but I think the NFL more than any other sport, you can get exposed real quick if you don't show up. So, maybe it is just kind of learning some of the new techniques and fundamentals that Howard Mudd and Chris Strauser are bringing in, but I would say the offensive line and just the pass protection in general, maybe just been a hair off in training camp.
This is from this guy's name always just I feel like needs to be pronounced in like a British like Michael Caine, James Bond accent.
Well, give it your best shot.
Richard Bilby,
Yes.
It's very Richard Bilby, like Dick Bilby. I don't know. But have you noticed more focus out of Brissett since Andrew stopped practicing at training camp? Obviously, he's a professional, but it's only natural to hone it in a bit more. Notice he stopped with his existential tweets.
I actually know Richard. Have talked with him. No British accent, but a great human. I don't want to say he's focused more. This is a big, big month for Jacoby Brissett, putting Andrew Luck injury situation aside.
Yeah.
You're putting stuff on film for NFL teams next year, and that week 1 film, you would like to correct some of that stuff. So, but I'm sure there is a natural kind of, holy shit, like, I might be out there week 1. Like, that's a possibility. So, backup quarterbacks I also think have to be wired a little differently of just like, hey, I have got to make sure that I am locked in, and if Andrew Luck wakes up puking, I could be starting week 1. So I thought it was really good to see the strides from Brissett yesterday, and I'll be locked in the next 2 Saturdays watching Jacoby Brissett because he could be out there when it's real.
Marcus Lewis wants to know, is it safe to assume that within the final 53 there will be more running back wide receiver than D-line defensive backs? There hasn't been much talk about the latter half of DBs as there has been with the latter half of wide receivers.
So he wants more running backs and wideouts than D linemen and DBs?
Is it safe to assume, he says?
No, not at all. wideout and running back, you're going to keep 9 or 10 combined at those two spots. 4 running backs, 5 wideouts, maybe 6 wideouts. At D-line, you might keep 9 or 10 right there. And then you're going to keep 5 or 6 corners. So, no, I don't think that's, the Colts want to play 8 guys on the defensive line every game. 65, 70% of snaps, rotate guys in, no one playing higher than that 65 to 70% number. So, no. No.
From setting the pace, if Luck misses 25% of the season with a tougher schedule, can we truly believe in Jacoby Brissett to win enough games to make the playoffs?
25%. All right, so that's 4 games.
September. See ya.
You're right. So that is what? At
Right?
Chargers, at Titans, home to Falcons, home to Raiders?
Correct.
So Andrew Luck's first game back, Week 5, Sunday Night Football in Arrowhead. NBC would be salivating at that. Boy, I think Jacoby Brissett, I think you'd have to be 2-2 after the first 4 games. 1-3, and then you play the Chiefs Week 5. That's probably a loss. Then you're 1-4. To be safe, I think you got to go 10-6 to make the playoffs. 9-7, you'd be praying for some wild cards to fall your way, tiebreakers to fall your way. So, can Jacoby Brissett get you to 2-2 in the first 4 games? That's the question. At Chargers, at Titans, home to Falcons, home to Raiders.
It's still so crazy we're even having this serious discussion.
We are.
It's
It's so crazy.
Unbelievable.
This is my life, man. I don't know. I think the Colts would go 2-2. But boy, that'd be a lot of pressure if you lost the first 2 out of the gate, because I think Atlanta's going to be better.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, that would be tough. That's a great question. Let me watch Jacoby Brissett in the preseason first. More.
From Elliot, which position will pay for the 3 quarterbacks they carry into Week 1?
That's a good question, Elliot. Probably wide out, maybe corner. Yeah, you're going to have to pinch somewhere. Do you pinch at tight end? Do you only keep 3 tight ends? I don't think so.
You just give me a little Tony Romo there.
Did I?
Or do you bench? Do you bench at tight end? Oh, bench.
Oh, boy. I need some food in me. Yeah, that's but, the whole 3 quarterback debate will be interesting, Joey, because I think this. When the Colts cut to 53 initially, they might, again, Chad Kelly goes on the suspension list. So he's gone away from the facility for 2 weeks. So all those things. But I will say that when you cut to 53, I don't think Phillip Walker will make it initially. I think you will bring him onto your practice squad, and then you'll wait till Friday or Saturday of that Chargers week. Promote him, so you leave your competitive advantage, quote unquote, in there. And then on game day, you'll find out 90 minutes before kickoff if Phillip Walker is actually dressing. So I think we're going to have to wait a little bit.
This is the last one I have from Chuck de Bleu. If you didn't have to take into account draft position, who are currently the 5 next receivers and 5 best defensive backs on the Colts roster? I'm assuming he meant to say 5 best receivers, not next receivers.
Okay, 5 best wideouts, non-draft position-centric. I don't know if it changes too much. I mean, I still think it's Hilton, Funchess, Campbell, I assume, when he's healthy, Deion Kane, Chester Rogers. Marcus Johnson might have been a 5th-round draft pick. I don't think he's in your top 5. I mean, I'd put Krishan Hogan probably up there. If I were ranking like your top 8 wideouts in the team, I just mentioned the top 5. Pascal 6, Fountain 7, Hogan 8. Marcus Johnson would be 9 in my eyes. I don't know. I just haven't seen as much playmaking as I would like to have seen from him. So that would be my wideouts. Corner-wise, it would go Kenny Moore, Pierre Desir, Rock Yassin, Quincy Wilson, Nate Hairston. Man, I've probably noticed Shaq Taylor more than I've noticed Jalen Collins and Marvell Tell in a positive manner. But I think Tell could be looking at a practice squad sort of thing.
That's the last one I have, Kevin.
All right, man. I don't have any more over here, so let's wrap up. Again, we really wanted to focus on the Andrew Luck debate conversation. We held off on a few Browns joint practice questions that we'll come back to either on Monday or Tuesday. Might wait till Tuesday just to see if Andrew Luck practices on Monday or what the update is from that situation. But we definitely wanted to get you a podcast here this week, concentrating on the Andrew Luck injury situation. And again, 1075thefan.com has all of your Colts coverage from training camp. We'll have one final notebook from today, and then some takeaway articles, a 53-man roster. Cut down projection will come on Monday as well. And Joey, I think we can announce it, right? Beers with Bowen? Location?
The 28th, I think, is what we're thinking.
Okay. Should I say the location or?
Let's confirm on Monday.
Okay. We will confirm on Monday. But yes, Wednesday, August 28th, Joey Molinaro's birthday.
Yeah.
Also will be where we have a beautiful another edition of Kevin's Corner, I guess, taken to Beers with Bowen.
Yep.
Out of MS Communications. So everyone have a great weekend. We appreciate you listening, and we'll be back Monday or Tuesday with another edition of Kevin's Corner. This has been Kevin Bowen. Thank you for listening to another edition of Kevin's Corner. If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher for the best Colts and Pacers coverage.